he revolutionized the massive production of electricity. Now you know how the electricity being, started making in a bigger way or massive way. Now we will start with a simple battery or a cell, which will explain electrochemical reaction in a simple manner. All of you study about galvanic cell. I will take that galvanic cell as an example, and I will teach you how we can analyze or how we can study an electrochemical reaction very easily with the help of a galvanic cell. So this image shown in this slide is galvanic cell. All of you have studied the construction and working principle of galvanic cell in your 10th standard. But have you seen anywhere galvanic cell is being used? Can you name any instrument or device where galvanic cell is used to give power to them? Any mobile phone galvanic cell is being used? No. Laptops? No. Right? Wristwatch? No. Smartwatch? No. Then why we are studying galvanic cell now also? We are not using galvanic cell for any application, but still we are studying galvanic cell to understand the chemical reaction to electricity conversion reaction. Galvanic cell will help us to understand the chemical reaction where chemical reaction leads to electrical energy. To understand that reaction, we require galvanic cell. A construction of zinc copper galvanic cell is shown here. See the image, a zinc copper galvanic cell, where copper is dipped in copper sulfate solution, zinc is dipped in zinc sulfate solution, and these half cells are connected with a salt bridge. We have to take zinc in zinc sulfate solution, copper in copper sulfate solution. We have to connect a salt bridge between them. Then if you check, is there any electric current is flowing through the circuit, we will get the answer, yes. We will be able to get electricity when we connect these two half cells together. So here, the left-hand side is zinc dipped in zinc sulfate, the right-hand side copper dipped in copper sulfate. These are the half cells. Now, by explaining the half cell reaction, we will be able to understand what is happening inside a galvanic cell. After knowing what is happening inside the galvanic cell, you will get complete idea about an electrochemical reaction where chemical reaction leads to electricity that we are going to study. So I will draw how to explain, or I will draw a galvanic cell construction. Then I will explain how the reaction occurs. I'm going to draw that. Two half cell I'm taking. In first half cell I'm taking zinc. In the second half cell I'm taking copper. So a copper rod dipped in copper sulfate solution. A zinc rod dipped in zinc sulfate solution. To maintain the charge neutrality, we require a salt bridge. You have studied why we require salt bridge in your school. I'm going to explain why the reaction leads to electricity generation that I'm going to teach you. You should know that the zinc rod that we put it in zinc sulfate solution consists of only zinc atoms. So zinc rod contains zinc atoms. Similarly, copper rod contains copper atoms. And we know that atoms do not have any charge. But inside the solution, zinc sulfate will be in ionized form and it contains so many zinc ions. Similarly, copper sulfate solution is in ionized form. It contains copper ions, so many copper ions. If I connect these two rods using a voltmeter, I will be able to see electricity produced by these galvanic cells. We'll see how. Electricity produced means electricity, or electrons moved from one place to the other place, either from zinc to copper or copper to zinc. One more time. We found that we got electricity when we connected a voltmeter. We found that electricity is being produced. Now we have to see from where to where electric current move or electrons move. For that, what we have to do, instead of voltmeter, we will put a galvanometer. Galvanometer will tell you what is the direction of the electrons. And we found that the electrons are moving from zinc to copper. So how we will find from where to where electrons move? Very simple. We have to put a galvanometer or galvanoscope and find in which direction electrons move. And we got an information that electrons are moving from zinc to copper. So who gives electron? Zinc gives electrons. Then only electrons will move from zinc to copper. So reaction will be like this. Zinc atoms in the zinc rod will release 2 electrons and becomes zinc ions. Zinc rod now produced 2 electrons. That 2 electrons will flow from zinc to copper. Electrons flow happened. Electrons flow means electric current. Now we know why we got electric current when we connected these 2 half cells. Any idea? Any doubt? Hope you don't have doubt because you have studied all these things in your school. Now you can ask a question. Why zinc released electrons? Why copper didn't release electron? That we will come to that point a little bit later. So here we found that zinc is releasing electrons. And after release of electrons, that electrons will move through the external circuit to the copper. Zinc donated the electron. Zinc undergoes release of electrons. That reaction is known as oxidation. So zinc undergoes oxidation. Who undergoes oxidation? That electrode is known as anode. So zinc is anode. So anode, you have studied it in your school, right? Anode. So you studied like this. Anode is the place where oxidation occurs. That's it. This much only you have studied. But why zinc acted as anode? Now you know that. Because when you connected zinc and copper half cells, from galvanoscope or galvanometer, we found that electrons are coming from zinc. If electrons are coming from zinc means zinc should release electron. If zinc is releasing electron, release of electrons are known as oxidation reaction. And which electrode is undergoing oxidation? That electrode will be known as anode. Now we know that why zinc acted as anode. That information that I have provided to you. Now another point is coming. Once zinc releases electrons, it becomes zinc ion. If it becomes zinc ion, then those ions cannot stay in the rod. Once the zinc atom converted into zinc ions, then they won't be able to stay in the rod. Rather, they have to come to the solution. So during the reaction, the zinc atoms converted into zinc ions and come to the zinc sulfate solution. So what happens? The number of atoms, zinc atoms in the rod decreases. What does it mean? The thickness of zinc rod will reduce during the reaction. So during the usage of this galvanic cell, the zinc atom or zinc rod will reduce its size. Reason? Because it releases electrons and becomes zinc ions and go into the solution. So if it goes into the solution, then obviously the zinc atom is being lost from the rod. So zinc rod will reduce its size. Now what happens to the right side of the galvanic cell? What happens to the copper? Now we know that electrons are coming to the copper. Electrons are moving into the copper. And this copper rod will take that electron and give those electrons to the copper ions. So electrons which are coming from the zinc rod will be taken by the copper metal and give those electrons to the copper ions in the solution. Copper ions in the copper sulfate solution. Those copper ions will accept those electrons and becomes, and we know that positively charged ions, if it accepts negatively charged electrons, it will get neutralized and it becomes copper atom. Once it becomes atoms, it cannot stay in the solution. Atoms always will be in rod, ions will be in solution. So copper ions in the solution, if it accepts electrons and becomes copper atoms, those copper atoms will be deposited on the surface of the copper rod. See, now what happens to the size of the thickness of the copper rod? Because every time copper atoms get deposited on the copper rod, so the thickness of the copper will increase. Thickness increases. See, left side, zinc thickness reduces, right side, the copper thickness increases. This reaction is acceptance of reaction. Copper ion accepts electrons and becomes copper, right? Acceptance of electrons are known as reduction. And where the reduction happens, that electrode is known as cathode. That electrode is known as cathode. Now we know why copper is called cathode in this zinc copper galvanic cell. So even though you studied what is an anode, what is a cathode, you know, when we call an electrode as cathode, when we call electrode as an anode, how we came to that conclusion that why zinc is anode here, why copper is cathode here, that I explained now with the help of a galvanometer. So galvanometer will tell you in a galvanic cell who is anode and who is cathode. Now you can ask a question. Why zinc only releases electrons? Why copper accepts electrons? That is based on the electrode potential. So this term you have studied. But now I will tell what is the importance of this term that you have not studied in your school. Electrode potential. Electrode potential of copper is higher than that of zinc. Electrode potential of copper is higher than that of zinc. Whoever is having higher electrode potential, they will try to accept electrons. Whoever is having lower electrode potential will give electrons. That is why when we combine zinc and copper galvanic cell, or zinc half cell and copper galvanic cell to make zinc copper galvanic cell, zinc releases electrons and copper accepts electron, because copper is having higher electrode potential than zinc. Whoever is having higher electrode potential will act as cathode and the other one will act as anode. We will take another example. I will take another example. I am going to make zinc silver galvanic cell. Zinc silver galvanic cell. Silver is having high electrode potential compared to zinc. Obviously, who will be acting as cathode here? Whoever is having higher electrode potential, that will act as cathode. So silver will act as cathode and zinc will act as anode. So if I combine zinc and silver half cell to make a galvanic cell, who gives electrons? Zinc gives electrons. Who accepts electrons? Silver accepts electrons. One is giving electron, one is accepting electrons. Giving and accepting means moving of electron or movement of electrons. Movement of electrons, that is known as electric current, right? Imagine I have two galvanic, I am making a galvanic cell. I am making a galvanic cell with the two metals A and B. Both the half cells have same electrode potential, whether I will get electric current or not. I will not get electric current because both of them have same electrode potential. If they have same electrode potential, then who will become anode and who will become cathode? Nobody can become cathode and anode. So if they are not becoming anode and cathode, then nobody will release electron, nobody will accept electron, and there will not be any electric current production. So whenever you are making a galvanic cell, make sure that the half cell shows different different electrode potential. The electrode which shows higher electrode potential will act as cathode, and the other electrode which shows less electrode potential will act as anode. Now, you have seen that whenever I drawn one galvanic, one half cell, we are dipping the metal, which is an electrode, in a solution. That solution we call it as electrolyte, and electrolyte always contains ions. Electrolyte always contains ions. So see the construction now. In this construction, major parts are, we require an anode, we require a cathode, both are electrodes. Then we require electrolytes. Then we require salt bridge. Very important point. To get electric current, we require an anode which gives electrons or undergoes oxidation, and we require a cathode to receive electrons, to accept electrons, or undergoing reduction. So this reaction, total reaction, contains both oxidation and reduction. And in a reaction, if both oxidation and reduction occurs, we call that reaction as redox reaction, because reduction is happening as well as oxidation is happening. Once the reaction becomes redox reaction, then only movement of electrons happens, because movement of electrons means after the oxidation, electrons will be released. That electrons will go to the cathode, and that cathode will accept electron and undergoes reduction. So movement of electrons will happen only if there is an oxidation followed by reduction. So the reaction should be redox reaction. Very important point. Redox reaction can only become electrochemical reaction. Only redox reactions. So you can ask a question, is there any reaction which is not redox? For example, hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide to form sodium chloride and water, very famous neutralization reaction. But that reaction will not give you any electricity. The reason that reaction is not a redox reaction. So redox reaction, that criteria is must to make a galvanic cell works. Or if you want to get electricity from a chemical reaction, that chemical reaction needs to be a redox reaction. Okay, now we understood now so many terms related to electrochemistry. One, what is an anode and when it will become anode? That is very, very important. When it will become anode. Next, what is cathode? When it will become cathode. What happens to anode after some time? Anode size will be reduced. What happens to the cathode? Cathode size will get increased, or cathode will get enhanced, right? This is the working principle of battery. So by studying galvanic cell, we will be able to understand the working principle of a battery. And using that principle, we can make so many different types of batteries. The batteries that you are using in your, what we can say, in wall clock, in remote control, right? Silver colored batteries mainly for the wristwatch, lead acid battery for using in your car, or a pile up of batteries which is required for an electric vehicle like electric car. All are working on the same principle. The same principle as that of galvanic cell. There will be oxidation, there will be reduction, there will be anode, there will be cathode, there will be electrolytes. So once we understand the theory behind galvanic cell, theory includes what is oxidation, what is reduction, who will undergo oxidation, who will undergo reduction, why we require electrolyte. If you know all these things, then you can also make batteries. We can also make batteries. Now, I asked you one question, whether anybody is using galvanic cell in this world to operate any equipment? No, we are not using galvanic cell to operate any equipment. But by studying galvanic cell, we will get the idea about how a battery works. And if you know how a battery works, then you can make your own battery, right? Like the batteries that we use now in our daily life. Now, till now, what we have studied about how chemical reactions leads to electricity. I told you there is another type of electrochemical reaction in which by supplying electricity, we will get chemical reactions. One classical example is electrolysis of water. Electrolysis, or electro means with electric current, lysis means splitting. With the help of electricity, we can split water into hydrogen and oxygen. We can split water into hydrogen and oxygen. Electrolysis of water involves opposite of the reactions which we were discussed till now. It's just opposite of the reaction that we have studied with the galvanic cells. In this case, we have to supply electricity, and using that electricity, chemical reactions will occur, and water will be splitted into hydrogen and oxygen. Second type of electrochemical reaction. Next topic is electroplating. You have seen that electroplating, like electroplated ornaments. You can coat gold on silver ornaments, and we call them as gold coated jewelry or gold coated ornaments. This electroplating is also an electrochemical reaction. Electroplating also an electrochemical reaction. How this electrochemical reaction will occur and how one metal will be coated on another metal, that we will study. So this topic is electroplating. Electroplating is the coating of one metal or the other. In this case, coating of silver on a spoon. To coat silver on a spoon, we require an electrolyte. So we are going to coat silver on a spoon. So the electrolyte should be containing silver ion. Which electrolyte will contain silver ions? One example is silver nitrate. So silver nitrate solution we have to take in a beaker. That silver nitrate solution will be having silver ions in it. It will contain silver ions. Then we require a silver strip or a silver plate. Silver plate we require, and that silver plate should be connected to the positive terminal of a battery. Then, on which we have to coat silver? We have to coat silver on a spoon. That spoon we have to dip it in this silver nitrate solution, and that spoon should be connected to the negative terminal of the battery. So again, I'm explaining, to coat silver on a spoon, we require an electrolyte which contains silver. Here, for that, silver nitrate solution is used. Now, a silver plate is required, which will be connected to a positive terminal of a battery. At the same time, the spoon that we wanted a coating on it, right? And the spoon which to be coated should be connected to the negative terminal of the battery. Then what we should do? We should switch on the battery. We should switch on the battery. Once we switch on the battery, electricity will be flown through this silver plate as well as spoon. Then chemical reactions will happen. So with the help of electricity, we are going to create a chemical reaction. After that chemical reaction, what will form? That we are going to study. Once we apply electricity, sufficient amount of electricity, then the silver atoms present in this silver rod, the silver atoms present in this silver rod or silver sheet, it will be undergoing oxidation. How? It will release one electron. Oxidation occurs. So once we apply electric current, or once we apply voltage, or once we provide electricity to this system, the silver which is connected to the positive terminal of the battery will undergo oxidation, and becomes silver ions, and it releases one electron. Now my question, if it is forming silver ions, where it will go? Because ions cannot stay in the rod. So what it will do? It will release electrons and form silver ion. And once it forms silver ions, that silver atom now converted into silver ion, and it will go into the solution. So silver ion will go into the solution. Every time this oxidation occurs, silver ion will go into the solution. At the same time, what happens to the electrons? Electrons which generated from the silver rod, it will move through the circuit and it will reach the spoon. Now, once the electron reaches the spoon, and we know that the spoon is connected to the negative terminal. So spoon is now negatively charged. Negatively charged spoon can attract positively charged silver ions, which came from the silver rod. So what happens? The silver ions, which actually, expelled or removed from the silver rod, will move towards the silver spoon. Why? Because silver ion got ejected from the silver rod, because ions cannot stay on the rod. It should come into the solution. Once it comes into the solution, then it will be attracted towards the spoon. It will get attracted towards the spoon because spoon is now negatively charged. Why spoon is negatively charged? Because it is connected to the negative terminal. That's why it is negatively charged. To that negatively charged spoon, the positively charged silver ion will get attracted, and those silver ion will go and attach to the spoon by accepting the electron that spoon gets and form silver atom. So this silver ion will go and attach to the spoon and accept one electron from that spoon and becomes silver atom. Once it becomes silver atom, can it stay in the solution? No, it should be deposited. Deposited on what? Deposited on spoon. What happened now? Silver atoms deposited on spoon. We call that as coating of silver. So coating of silver happened. This reaction is oxidation, and this reaction is acceptance of electrons. Acceptance of electrons, those reactions are known as reduction reaction. So here, during oxidation, the silver plate ejected electrons, right, became silver ions. Those silver ions moved towards the negatively charged spoon and get oxidized on the surface of the spoon, and coating of silver happened. This is also a kind of electrochemical reaction where electricity is used for a chemical reaction, and after that chemical reaction, a coating of silver occurred on the surface of the spoon. Similarly, we can explain electroplating of different metals on different substrate. For example, if I want to coat my silver jewelry with gold, so what I have to take? Silver jewelry I have to take instead of spoon. I have to coat gold, so I have to take gold as the gold strip. I have to take gold. And solution, I have to make a gold solution. I have to take a gold solution. That's it. I have to supply electricity. Same reaction will happen. Gold will become gold ions. Gold ions will go and attach to my silver jewelry, and it will take one electron from silver jewelry and get deposited on the spoon. Understood? So I hope now you got the idea behind different types of electrochemical reactions. And when an electrode is called as anode, a cathode, what is the role of electrolyte? We also studied how with the help of electricity, how a chemical reactions can be started, and with the help of those chemical reactions, we can even do coating of one metal over the other.